What does it take to create a vibrant, thriving life? First, the sad news is that Thoreau was right. Most people are leading quiet lives of desperation, lacking in meaning, fulfillment, and vitality. But we choose more. We choose to create extraordinary lives. And the Art of Vibrant Living show entertains you with inspiration, empowerment, and education to create your life into a masterpiece. It's time. Let's vibe up. Hello, 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 y'all. Welcome. Aloha. I am Daniel Aaron. I'm your host. This is the Art of Vibrant Living show, and goody gumdrops, what a show we've got today. You're going to absolutely love my guest today. I'll tell you about her in a minute. First, a reminder, or if it's your first time, welcome. This show is all about empowering you to live your most vibrant, thriving life. I mean, a life of freedom, of love, of vibrancy and radiance, as in your birthright. Request, I implore you, take in the information. Yes, be entertained. Even better, though, apply it. Take something that Angela gives you today. There will be much gold. Take some of that gold and try it out. Apply it into your life. Stay to the end, too, because there's something quite special for you from her. And with that, let me tell you a little about Angela Orora Medway-Smith. She's the practical mystic, an internationally renowned, divinely guided channel for the Ascended Master and Angelic Collectives. Angela is a master healer, teacher, and channel of multiple modalities, clairvoyant and author, oracle deck creatrix, retreat leader, mentor, and life and soul alignment coach. Holistic healing is her passion, and Angela is waking the world up to the potential and power of energy healing through her #1 Amazon International best-selling books, channeled books from the Ascended Master and Angelic Collectives, together with the channeled Lemurian and Atlantean healing frequencies, which she teaches as accredited healing modalities on retreats worldwide. Super lucky to have Angela with us today, all the way from the other side of the world, from where I am in Hawaii. Angela, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, Daniel. It's so good to be here. It's lovely, lovely to be chatting today.
Awesome. I've been looking forward to this for so long. Let me just jump right in. Like, I want to know, and I think everybody wants to know, how did you get into like what I just shared about who you are and what you're up to in the world? Everything that I spoke, those are familiar words to me and concepts. And at the same time, when I was born as a lower middle class mainstream kid who grew up on the standard American sad diet, both in terms of food and media and beliefs, there was like 3 words in your whole biography that I would have understood until I had a point in my life where spirit whacked me upside the head and it took me into a whole different journey. So some of what you shared for some people is like, what on earth is she talking about with that stuff? Like, how did you get here? Let me just ask that way. I'll stop talking now. I'm so curious.
Okay. So when I was a teenager, I moved from the small Welsh village where I grew up to London, which was another world. And basically, I had an awakening. And in the course of the first ever meditation I did, everything switched on. Literally everything switched on. My clairvoyance, my clairaudience. I could feel people's pain, but just being sat next to them on the underground. And it was really scary. And my poor teacher didn't know what to do with me. So she pointed me in the direction of her teacher, and I spent 7 years in circle with this amazing teacher called Betty Bolcom. If you'll find her book still on Amazon. Back in the 80s, because I'm in my 60s, she was really quite famous, and she wrote lots of books that are still around these days. So I was really blessed to have Betty as a mentor and a teacher. And then life happened, and I moved, after the 7 years, I moved back to Wales, and it wasn't as forward thinking as it is now. Think small Welsh fishing village, from London. So I worked very much in the background and worked in mental health services for a very long time. I ran a charity for people with mental health services, but just worked sending out healing in the background. And then 10 years ago, I came back to this work full time. It just was my time, and everything just became like a rollerball. It was as if my whole life had been preparing me to do what I do now, because I'd spent, while I was in London, I'd spent a decade organising events. So one of the first things that I decided to do was start these festivals and big holistic fairs in my town to help people experience energy healing, because it can change your life. And I'm just so passionate about it. So that's the first thing I did. And then, I was teaching, and everything just kind of happened. And yeah.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. I love it. And that brought me 63 different questions. And like the first thing that comes though is your first meditation, everything's switched on.
Yeah.
Right? And and I'm gonna play angel's advocate a bit here, Angela, because I know our audience is wide ranging in their experience and even in their beliefs. And I have a lot of appreciation for that because, like I said, I grew up in a whole different world, and so much of what I thought was reality then doesn't seem very real to me now. And stuff that would have seemed like far out impossibilities to me now is obvious, right? So even for me, going back to my own former self-reference, clairaudience, clairsentience, I would have said, what are you talking? I don't even know what that means. Like audi, that maybe that's like sound. Like I could, I know words a little bit. I could piece it together. But so, so part of what I hear you saying, if I translate and you tell me if this is accurate, is you're able to, as you said, in the underground, feel what other people were feeling, right? You could hear things that were not spoken in ways that most people hear, right? And I think there were some more, call them psychic or extrasensory awareness beyond what is in the mainstream. What on earth was that like? I mean, I know you said it was, I forget the word you said, overwhelming, intense, but it sounds to me like it was like one moment lights turned on and suddenly you were in a completely different universe. Will you take us a little deeper? Like, what was that like for you? Did I speak it correctly?
Yeah, it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying, because I could hear what people were thinking. Just everything switched on. I was seeing beings it was just everything. And basically, I just tried to hide away, and until I got to Betty, and the first thing she said to me, she opened the door and she said, you found me. It was like she'd been waiting for me. She knew I was coming. I was coming. And basically she taught me the most valuable lesson that anybody can teach anybody who's going to do any psychic or spiritual work, and that is spiritual protection and how to set boundaries. And that's what my lovely teacher, the first one I went to her meditation class, hadn't taught me and didn't teach me. And that's why I was left so vulnerable. Excuse me. But so that's the first thing I teach people is spiritual protection, psychic protection, and boundaries. So, you know, when we have to be able to function in this human world, and not be distracted by all the other things. If you have senses that could, you know, the clair senses, where you can pick up the things that you can see in normal, you know, a clairvoyant can see extra things, a clairaudient can hear extra things. But you need to be able to function in everyday life, and in order to do that, you need to set these boundaries.
I'm right there with you. And as you were speaking of it before, I flashed back to that moment I mentioned where I got the divine whack upside the head, and it was kind of like the curtain pulled aside and said, "Hey, look, dude, there's a whole world that you've been missing." And one of the first things for me coming out of that extremely disorienting and scary period was a book called Psychic Self-Defense, right? And it's like a super rudimentary, basic one. I forget who. Probably
Is it Caitlin Matthews? She wrote one of the best books on psychic protection. Caitlin Matthews.
It could be. It was. I know it was. It's from the Llewellyn series.
Yeah,
Llewellyn Publishers,
maybe.
I guess. And this is going back 30 years, literally.
Yeah.
And it was probably my first shamanic counselor that recommended it. And even then, like when I think back about that now, like I came out of the spiritual awakening straight into the Western mental health world, which was very jarring. And coming out of that, my first pathway was a shamanic counselor who was also had a master's degree in traditional psychotherapy, blah blah blah. So in any case, the reason I think of it is that concept of psychic self-defense. That's how I recall it. Boundaries was a word you used. And I think I'm lingering with this a bit right now because I sense that, and I'm sure you know a lot more because you're so tuned into this world. There are a lot of people that are waking up to gifts, to extrasensory perceptive abilities, to abilities that are not mainstream and are maybe even scary for some of the mainstream. And it's beyond disorienting. I think it can be very confronting for people to experience that. I have a client right now who had some awakening and got so scared by it and got such bad advice that really in many ways set her back years.
Yeah.
So I'm not especially tuned into this world yet. I don't know. I feel some desire with you and under your guidance here to help a bit with the people that are waking up in different ways. Am I on track with that being a thing right now in the world?
Yeah, and it's been going on. It's been going on for centuries, to be honest, Daniel. The mental health institutions were full of mediums, full of psychics, because the people who didn't have those abilities just thought that they were mad.
Right.
And so they're medicated. And, I know several people who've been through the mental health system who did not have mental health problems. They were psychic, or they are psychic.
Or maybe they didn't have mental health problems until they got into the mental health system.
Yeah, because once the medication starts, then the mind, I mean, I don't want to go down that road, but the drugs alter the chemistry of the brain and shut you down. So that's what they're designed to do, but which is very sad, really. So I was very, very lucky that I was guided directly to Betty, because that's where my journey began. And so she taught me everything she knew over this 7 years, and as well as intuitive development, she taught energy healing. So in those days we called it spiritual healing. It's before Reiki became popular in the West, you know. So there was only spiritual healing. There weren't very many modalities about in those days. And people are still a little afraid of spiritual healing. Reiki has become more commonplace and accepted. But it's still spiritual healing. It's still coming from the same place. We just use different language,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But so spiritual healing was my first energy healing modality. But over the last 40 years, because it's been 40 years, you know, I've studied many, many different modalities because I'm so fascinated by them. And that's why I led the Energy Healers Oracle book series to get information out there to people about all the different modalities that can change their lives. They can transform their lives with different frequencies. And there are so many available. There are so many available to us.
Okay, cool. So what comes to me as you say that is I remember back to one of my first areas of study, which was breath work, right? And when I got really into breath work, I was just so blown away by what I experienced. Like, and then I went and did a professional training to become a facilitator. My teacher, amazing woman, she used to say, well, what we're doing is vibrational healing here.
Yeah.
And I remember when I heard her say that, I was like, oh, Judy, don't say that, right? And my perception then was that makes it sound so woo out there, you know, and it's not. And then as I grew and evolved and did more of that work and other work, I was like, well, it's really accurate. That's what it is. It's just that's what's going on. So I relate to what you said, and I love hearing you speak about, well, yeah, Reiki's like kind of known now, right? Like back in the day, Reiki was out there weird, and now it's commonplace. And even vibration, right? That doesn't sound woo-woo at all anymore if we talk about vibration and entrainment. So still, I would love if you're willing, right? You and I have both been lucky and blessed enough to go down many different roads and have different types of awakening. And I appreciate already, I know with you that you're very grounded as well as have access to these, you know, extra sensory worlds. So how do you how would you define energy healing, right? And for someone who doesn't know any of the stuff that we might be into, how do you describe it?
Okay. So there have been energy healers as long as there have been people. And basically, there was always somebody in a community who was able to channel energy, to become the channel for universal energy, spiritual energy, vibrational healing, energy healing, whatever you want to call it. And the way that works with people is we channel it through our energy system, through our subtle body. So it comes in through the crown and moves down through the body, clears and comes up through the hands. It's not rocket science.
Hmm.
There are so many different forms of so many different frequencies that can be channeled. If you go and see an energy healer, many of them practice more than one modality. So when I'm working, when I've got a client in front of me or on the other side of the world, because it doesn't actually make any difference at all whether I've got my hands on them or whether they are in New York, because I have clients all over the world. I can move my consciousness. So if I'm not in a room with somebody, I can move my consciousness to the space that they are in and be the channel for the energy in the space that they are in. And the guides will always make sure that it is the right energy for them, the right frequency for them. But that individual is also making a choice as to whether or not to receive that energy and what that energy does. So I always say that I ask for healing for the highest good of all and harm of none in accordance with the will of the divine and the will of the higher self. Because it's up to that individual whether they accept it, whether or not what the energy is doing within their either their physical body or their emotional or mental body, because we can clear the energy field as well as the physical body of disharmony. It's up to them what they accept.
Gotcha.
Have I given too much information there?
No, I think that's great. I wonder though, could you, I'm right there with you. Could you tell us about an experience or story or an example like of what that can look like or what can happen? Maybe it'll help us understand on another level.
Okay. So you can, right.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's. I'm sure
Okay,
you've.
I've got thousands. I've got thousands.
Yeah. Well, is one come to mind that that?
Well, yeah. So this client in New York. Okay, I'll just give him as an example.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'd agreed that to be sending energy at a specific time to this individual. And so what I normally do is I'll send a message over social media or one of the WhatsApp or something, just to say, make sure you're lying down, tune in to this particular track that I'll have sent them beforehand. Anyway, this particular day, I didn't have a response from this chap. And I thought this was quite unusual. So I thought, well, I've set the time. I'll just carry on with the healing and let's see what happens. So as I'm lying down, I get this horrendous pain in my lower abdomen. It's as if my blood, there was something wrong with my bladder. I felt that it was going to explode. It really was really uncomfortable. And that went after about 10 minutes. And then I carried on with the healing. And so I normally ring somebody at the end of a session just to find out how they are, how it's been for them, and just to give them any feedback on what I might have picked up. And I said to this chap, do you know, when I tuned into you first, I had this absolutely horrendous feeling in my lower abdomen. He said, oh my God, I was running really late. I hadn't been to the toilet all day. And so I came in 10 minutes late and I had to run to the loo before I could even lie down. So I'm lying down, sending this energy and feeling exactly what he's feeling in his body. And it was so strong, it was so strong. But, many, many healers will pick up pain and discomfort within the physical body of the person that they're working with. Yeah. And you don't have to be in the same room. You don't have to be next to a person.
Mm.
And I've been doing this work a long time, so it's easy for me to tune in. And this is why it's important when you look for an energy healer, you look for somebody, first of all, who's properly trained and certificated and insured, and you feel comfortable with them. You feel comfortable with them and you trust them. You should be able to trust them and know that they have your best interests at heart.
Mm.
So I always work from the heart.
Mm. That's beautiful. Well, and I love the era we're in now too, because you explained and gave us that great example and emphasized you don't have to be in the same room. And that's another one. A few years ago, that would have seemed like weird stuff, but the advances in science now and quantum physics, and I think of the work that Joe Dispenza is doing, and sort of taking what can be mystical stuff and putting it in very simple language so that people understand. There is just a vastly increased mainstream understanding of energy, of time and space being not the whole picture, right? That there's beyond that energies are connected, whether they're in the same time or space or not. So I love that. Now, let me check in, because part of your mission, from what I understand, is to bring this awareness and this healing into the world. You lead retreats. You've written several books, and that's part of this. You have some more books on the way. Is that true?
Yes. So we were really blessed. The Energy Healers Oracle series was voted number 21 of the top 100 best healing books of all time by Book Authority.
Wow.
So that really blew me away. So I'm carrying on leading the Oracle series. So the next book in the series will be the Magdalene Oracle. And we're just about to kick off writing for that. But if there are any priestesses of the Magdalene or people who work with the Magdalene frequency who really want to get their signature story out and share a tool with the world, then there's still time. And the Intuitives Oracle will kick off later this year as well. And I'm really excited about that. But I love working with the Magdalene frequency. It's one of my favorite frequencies. I'm a teacher of Mary Magdalene Reiki. I'm a channel for Mary Magdalene and Yeshua and many of the other ascended masters. But where I began was as a teacher of intuition. And so the Intuitives Oracle will be gathering psychics and mediums and intuitives from around the planet who are all going to share their magical tools so that other people can learn from them. So if you're a medium or a mystic or a psychic or an intuitive and you're interested, then just come and find me, because we're recruiting for that book right now.
Okay, awesome. Well, I will jump back into my occasional role of angel's advocate here, and not everybody will know even what you mean when you say the Magdalene or the
Okay.
Magdalene frequency. And you did say Mary Magdalene, and there are folks that just haven't been exposed. There are people out there that say, is that even real? So, not that I'm
Yeah.
denying anything there, but could you say a little bit more about what that means, the Magdalene?
Yeah. So when I talk about the Magdalene, I talk about Mary Magdalene, and I talk about the energy that she represents. She's one of the figureheads of the divine feminine. So energetically, we live in a polarized universe, There is masculine, there is feminine, there is black, there is white. And for the past few centuries, we've been living in a very masculine energy on this planet. And you'll have seen this everywhere. There's a rise of the divine feminine. And Mary Magdalene is one of the ascended masters. There are many, many more, who is very present for many women in many different ways, men as well, because I can tell you a funny story about a trip to Egypt in a bit, but just to stick to the question, what she is the people who work with the Magdalene frequency, with the work that Mary Magdalene did when she was on the planet, are those who are working with, they're working with sacred sexuality, they're working with sacred oils in the Miracle tradition. So we've got soul midwives, soul doulas who work in this way as well. There are lots of empowerments that many of the teachers of the Magdalene are able to pass on that can make huge changes in people's lives. So the book is about how different people work with this energy. So a lot of my work is with the divine rays and sacred flames. And the Magdalene ray is what I'm writing about in the book. And under this frequency, it's an incredible energy that we can use to work with the inner child. It's an incredible energy that we can use to start working with new projects, with working with sacred sound. There are many, many ways that you can work with this energy. So it's about raising awareness of the kind of things that you can do when you tune into the divine feminine frequency, or the frequency that the particular frequency that Mary Magdalene held and represents. Because for many people, she was just one of the people who followed Jesus, and I mean, I could talk all night about it, but in a nutshell, her gospel was removed from the Bible, and references to her were removed from the Bible in the 2nd century at the Council of Nicaea, and she has been misrepresented. And there's lots of authors who've written about that.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm with you. I'll restrain myself a little bit because it's an area of great interest to me as well. At the moment, I'm rereading one of my favorite books called Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff, which is not only one of the funniest books I've ever read, it's brilliant. And as it looks like you don't know it, it has another lens on the Marys, on the Magdalene as well. So it's an area that I love and am deeply interested in, though there's so much that you have to share. Let's go to Egypt. You tantalized us there for a moment. What's going on? What went there?
Oh gosh. So so I'm divinely guided, and I've given up a long time ago. I do as I'm told, basically. We do have choice, obviously, but when my guides tell me you need to go and do this, I will generally listen to them because there's work for me to do. So one of my guides said to me, you need to go to Egypt, we need you to go to this temple, and we need you to do this specific work. Okay? I don't want to blow people's minds with the work. But anyway, well, it was basically to open a portal. But anyway, there you go. So reopen a
It's
portal.
okay. You can go anywhere you want, blow minds. That's what we're
Okay.
here for.
Okay. So it was to reopen a portal to the Pleiades. That apparently I had in a past life, I had managed this portal, and I was told I needed to go there and do this work. So I said, right, okay, that's fine. Just tell me how, and then, I'll go. So the following day, they're very good. My guides are very good at using social media and using my phone. So up pops a post on social media. Somebody I knew was running a trip to the temples of Egypt. And the temple I needed to go to was on this list. So I messaged her and said, right, okay, can we meet for coffee? Because she lives in Glastonbury and I was going to Glastonbury that weekend. So can we meet for coffee? I'm really interested in this trip you're running. So we met for coffee, sat down, and I said to her, I've been told I need to go to this temple to do this work. Can I come on your trip? And she said, you've got the last place on the trip. And we knew something special was going to be happening at the temple because we booked a private visit. So I thought, right, okay, that's great. So a few months roll along, off I trot to Egypt and turn up on this retreat. And if the whole retreat was being held in French, I had no idea, and I'm not a French speaker. And literally, I was going down the Nile and to all the temples, the pyramids and everything, with priestesses of the Magdalene and Knights Templar, all French. And then there was me. Actually, it turned out to be a really good thing because my lovely friend was translating all the time to begin with, and there were a couple of people who spoke some English, which was great. But what actually happened was, rather than wait for her to be translating all the time and spoil her experience, I just said, look, I'll just wander off on my own and do my own meditations and my own work in the temple. And so a lot more things got done, a lot more things happened. And I don't know if you've been to Egypt or down the Nile, but there are lots and lots of private guides who take little groups around. So I was kind of sneaking around the ones who were speaking English. And then all the signs were in English. So I didn't really miss anything out. In fact, I got a lot more out of the trip than I could ever have imagined. But it was a bit of a wake up. I mean, I had no idea that this whole boatload of people were French and Belgian. No idea.
That's
But I was
hilarious.
meant to be there and did the work and just had the most amazing time.
I love it. I love it. Well, and part of what I hear in that is I come from the perspective, the belief that everybody has guidance, everybody has guides, everybody has intuition, right? And we know, just on the simplest energetic level, all the frequencies, some of which you've spoken about in different energetics, they're always there and they're always available for all of us. And part of what I hear and gather from you, Angela, is you have got an awakening to greater possibilities beyond what you used to know, right? Way back with that first story you told us. And then you've learned to tune in, to create boundaries, and also to say yes, right? So when your guides say, hey, time for you to go to Egypt, your response is, okay, yeah, right? And I think for so many of us, we're trained, we're so accustomed to the inculcation of the materialistic worldview, right, to rationality, no doubt, from that out of balance masculine energetic you spoke about earlier, that when we get these whispers from guides or intuition or the feminine, it's very easy for a lot of us at times to say, oh no, I don't understand, or that's not rational, right? And part of what I'm gleaning from you is just the beauty and the synchronicity and the power of being attuned to and being able to say yes to. Does that make sense? Does that fit your experience?
Yeah. But it's really difficult to learn to trust. It's like that Kevin Costner movie, you know, Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. You have to learn to trust when you start listening to this guidance that it's the right thing. And that doesn't come quickly. The trust doesn't come quickly. It comes with developing a really strong connection with your guide team, because we all have them, and we have guardian angels, we have guides who, most of them, come and go through our lives and come and help us with different things and different tasks. So, you know, it's just about learning to trust and learning to develop your intuition to that level so that you can have that trust. And it's not about switching off the monkey mind or computer brain. It's there to protect us. You know, it's there for a reason. It's there to operate the physical body. But we are not that monkey mind. We are divine spirits. We are, you know, we are sparks of the divine, here to do a job, to experience this amazing planet and all the joys and the pitfalls it brings, you know?
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you. So I lament time is flying by here. So we'll wrap up before long. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about, or that you would like to bring forward?
I've got the most incredible retreat coming up this year.
Oh, that's exciting. Tell us more.
Yeah. Again, I've been guided to take people to the Mediterranean islands of Malta, Gozo, and Camino. And we'll be there for the 999 portal. So September 9th this year, which it'll be the 9th day of the 9th month, and 2025 adds up to a 9. It's going to be really powerful time of energy, and I'll be teaching healing at that retreat as well. So I'll be teaching a modality called Sirius Star Healing, which is work which we do. We work outside space and time. We work with the quantum field, and was first practiced in Lemuria and then in ancient Egypt. And it's an accredited modality, so it's something that you can actually, you know, if you come along, that you can go back and practice legally with insurance. And we've got, I'm so excited about this. I was chatting to the other teacher who's coming along today. So it's myself and another teacher called Kieran Morgan, who's the brother of dragons. Kieran and I work together quite a lot. And we've got private access to some of the most ancient temples of the divine feminine on the planet. They predate Stonehenge. They are from the time of Göbekli Tepe, and are still visited in Malta, and we will be visiting and having our private time in these temples, which is so exciting.
Wow. Okay, I want to go. That sounds amazing.
Oh, I'd love it, Daniel. I would absolutely love it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then that brings us naturally to the question of how can people learn more, join you for the retreat, find out what you're up to? What's the best way for people to reach you?
Really simply, just sign up for my newsletter on my website. So my website is carriadspiritual.com. But you can find me if you just want to, you can email me through the site. You can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I'm on all of the platforms. I don't do a lot on them, but I am there and I do respond to messages. But yeah, I mean, every month I give away stuff as well. So, and I hold free monthly meditations where I take people into the energy of the divine rays and sacred flames, because they're all so different. It's beautiful, and the guides decide what I'm doing, so I don't even decide myself until well, I don't decide myself. They tell me what to do.
I love it. Beautiful. Okay. And for those who might be listening and not viewing, for those who are viewing, the website that Angela mentioned is on the screen, Cardiad Spiritual. For those.com. For those who are only listening, I will spell it out because not everybody, at least on this side of the pond, necessarily know that word so well. So it's CARIAD spiritual.com. And with that, would you give us a quick education on that beautiful word?
Well, I'm Welsh, and cariad in Welsh means love or sweetheart. And the reason I called my business Cariad Spiritual is because I do everything from the heart. I do everything with love. And yeah, it just felt right at the time. And yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it. I love that, and that makes complete sense with you. It's congruent because that's what we feel. That's what I feel from you. As every question I ask you, everything you share, I feel it coming through from your heart. And you're a teacher of these many modalities of energy healing, spiritual healing, and some of the wisest, most powerful healers I've met. One of the things I hear often is the most important ingredient in any kind of healing or medicine is love, right? It's the love of the practitioner, the doctor, the coach, the healer. So I love that that's the center of your world and your website. And I think, Angela, this brings us to. Oh, wait, actually, I have the final big question. But before that, because you mentioned that you give away things, meditations, you also mentioned earlier that you would invite our audience to a special gift with you too. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes. What I said, Daniel, is that I'd create a group healing session that they can come along to. So if they sign up for my newsletter, then they'll get told about when the date is. Because I'm doing a bit of traveling, and over the next few weeks, I'm working in Costa Rica and Florida. So I've got to find a date for it.
Gotcha. Okay, so that means for y'all in the audience, go to cardiadspiritual.com, join Angela's newsletter, and then you will learn about the group healing that you can be part of at no financial cost to you. That's super cool. Awesome. Thank you for that. So the big question, the final question, it's such a big question. It's impossible. You've got just so much experience and knowledge and wisdom and heart. If I ask you to distill it, to bring it all down to one thing, and there's one thing that you can offer that will help people to live their most vibrant, thriving life. What's that one thing?
Ooh. I think be honest with yourself
Hmm.
and be true to yourself. Because if you don't do that, you're never going to live the life that you are destined to.
I love it. Beautiful. Be honest with yourself. Be true to yourself. That's priceless and beautiful. Thank you, Angela. Goodness gracious, what a gift it has been to be with you. I so appreciate your courage, your love, your care in the world, your wisdom, all that you've done to create yourself into such a tapped in, tuned in, giving, prolific contributor to our world. Thank you for all that, and thank you for taking the time to be with us here today.
Daniel, thank you so much. Really has been a pleasure. I've loved it.
Oh, beautiful. All right,
And
awesome.
thank you to everybody for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just where I was going, y'all in the audience. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being interested in more vibrant, thriving lives, for taking the time. Please, again, apply something here. Sign up for Angela's newsletter. Get to be part of that healing. Go to a retreat. Get the Oracle deck. Read a book. To have a conversation. Teach somebody something you've learned today. If I can be of assistance to you, let me know. Send me an email, daniel@danielaaron.com. I'd love to meet you and support you in creating everything that you would love to create in your life. I so appreciate you being here. Thank you. I love you. See you again soon, I hope. Mahalo for tuning in to the Art of Vibrant Living show, y'all. I'm Daniel Aaron, and may you live with great vibrancy.